Hello everyone! Today I thought that I would introduce myself a little bit more. I've posted videos in the past, but I'm going to try to be more consistent with posting here on YouTube. And I'm really excited about that, and I'm hoping to feature more thrifting content, maybe some thrift with me's, some lookbooks, all that fun sort of stuff. So I'm thinking what I'm going to do is I came up with some questions, like a thrifting Q&A, but these weren't questions that anybody asked me personally. I kind of came up with these, like, if we want to make this a tag, I suppose we could. But yeah, I just came up with these questions. They're based off of some questions that I've heard Emily Stokel ask on the Pre-Love podcast, and I'm going to link that podcast down below, because if you're a thrift lover like me, you're going to love this podcast. Emily's so fun. She always brings on the coolest people. I've discovered so many of my now favorite like bloggers and influencers on that podcast, and it's all about like thrifting and sustainable fashion and all that good stuff that I'm so into. So I came up with some questions that I've either heard her ask or questions I would want her to ask on there. So the first question I came up with was, how long have you been thrifting? And I've been thrifting for such a long time. Ever since I was a little kid, my mom would take me to the thrift shop, and like when I was little, I always kind of found it overwhelming, and especially when I was like a bratty middle schooler, I always wanted to like go to Aeropostale and Hollister, and we just didn't have the money for that. We didn't have a lot of money growing up because both my parents are librarians, and if you know, librarians, like teachers, aren't paid nearly as much as they should. So a little bit of a tangent, but I've been thrifting probably ever since I was in early elementary school. But I mean, my mom was probably thrifting like little kid clothes for me when I was like a toddler and younger. So yeah, I've been thrifting for a very, very long time. And there's this really great Goodwill near where I grew up, and we would always go there for back to school shopping. But after I grew up and I really came to appreciate thrifting, that's when it became a lot more fun. So I would say like late high school, and then certainly when I got into college, that's when I really got into thrifting, really started to kind of transition my style from like the fast fashion, because I think we all kind of had those phases where we were super into Forever 21 and super into all this stuff, but then after a while, like, it didn't fit my style, and the clothes didn't fit me right, and the clothes weren't awesome, and so I was like, what else can I do? And then I got into thrifting. So that's kind of a little bit of an overview of my thrifting journey. So the next question is, do you remember your first trip to the thrift? And because I was so young, I don't think I remember my first ever thrift trip. I remember one trip where I was probably a senior in high school or a freshman in college, and I remember going to the Goodwill that I would go to when I was growing up. It's like 5 or 10 minutes away from my house. It's super close. And I remember, like I said before, I wasn't super into like the fast fashion places anymore. Forever 21 wasn't really fitting my style anymore, and I went to the Goodwill and I found so many things. Like, I remember there was this one trip where I found this really cute red plaid skirt, or skirt, because it was one of those things that had a little like flap and it had shorts under, but with the flap it made it look like a skirt. And I found that and a couple other plaid skirts and some other things that I wore all the time, like my freshman and sophomore years of college. And I remember finding those and just being like, oh my gosh, these are awesome. And after that, it just like caught wildfire, and those skirts don't fit me as well anymore, and it makes me so sad, but it was the start of a journey. Did you like thrifting the first time you tried it? And I'm gonna say, when I was super little, I found it super overwhelming, because if you're a big thrifter, you know that like thrift stores, especially like hometown Goodwills, they're not super organized. I mean, some are, but with all the clothes coming in all the time, like sometimes they're not organized, there's so much to go through. And I remember just going in with my mom and being like, I don't know what to look at, there's too much. And I feel like that feeling really goes away after practice and after you get used to a certain location and after you get used to thrifting for a long amount of time. It can be really overwhelming, and like when you're little, everything's so big around you and you're like, what's going on? What was it about thrifting that hooked you? And like I said before, one of the first thrift trips where I was super successful when I was like a senior in high school and a freshman in college, I just really liked how unique all the pieces I found were. I really liked the price point. Like when you're a college kid, you don't have an awful lot of money. And I think that's really what drew me in originally. And then later on, like the more I learned about fast fashion and how it takes advantage of its employees and the garment workers and all that they go through, like I just found that so disgusting. So later on, when I got more into sustainable fashion, that's really what hooked me as well. And also I really like the challenge. I love going into a thrift store and like digging through a whole bunch of stuff and finding something really special. I love that hunt, and I think it's a lot of fun. Is there anything you won't thrift? And I think if you follow me on Instagram, which you should, I'm going to put my username here. It's @thegingerinTrovert. You'll know I wrote about it on my Instagram and I wrote about it on my blog too, gingerinTrovert.com. I'm pretty shameless when it comes to thrifting. I'll thrift like swimsuits and oh gosh, I'll thrift anything other than like underwear. You know, don't thrift underwear, that's kind of gross. But I've thrifted bras before, I've thrifted swimsuits. I feel like those are typically the sorts of things that people kind of wrinkle their noses at. Or shoes. Like when I was little, my mom would not let me thrift shoes. She always thought that was kind of gross. And like, I do kind of agree with her, but also I really love vintage shoes. I think they're really cute. So, I mean, you have to be careful and you have to be choosy. But yeah, I'm pretty shameless. Love thrifting anything, just don't thrift underwear. Just don't do it, it's gross. What's your favorite season to thrift/dress for? And you know, I think that my opinion has kind of changed over the years. Typically, I would say fall, and I think that stands pretty true. I love thrifting sweaters and blazers and turtlenecks, like what I'm wearing right now. I love dressing for fall, and I love thrifting for fall. It's so much fun. But this past summer, I had a lot of fun thrifting, like summer dresses and like camis and that sort of thing. So I'd say that like prairie dresses too. Those were so fun to thrift this past season in the summer. So I would say that's a close second, but number one is fall. Favorite non-clothing things to thrift. So right now I've recently moved into a house that I'm basically renting, and it's been so much fun to look at home decor and that sort of thing. But over the years, I've loved to thrift books and that sort of thing. I love vintage books. I love going into the book section of Goodwill and just kind of rummaging through. It's also a little bit of a tradition that I have with my boyfriend now. We'll go to a thrift store and we'll go through the book section together, and that's a lot of fun because we both love to read. And records are really fun too, but I mean, it's really hit and miss with records. How much time and money do you typically spend thrifting? So, time, I can spend entire afternoons in a thrift store. I would say that, I mean, the least amount of time I'll spend in a thrift store is like an hour, but I have certainly spent more time in a thrift store, especially if it's bigger and everything's just so cool and exciting. I love going through as many sections as I can. So I've been in a thrift store for like 4 hours before. I don't think I've exceeded that, but I wouldn't be surprised if I have. And money, I mean, it's easy to save money when you're at a thrift store. So I mean, if I don't find an awful lot that I like, I'll spend like $10, $20. I've spent more. I've spent like $100 thrifting probably between like 100, 120. I don't think I've ever spent any more to Goodwill. But yeah, still, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money for me. I don't know about you guys, but like for a college kid or a post-grad, if you're like me, it's a lot of money, but it's always worth it because you get so much more than you would at like H&M or Forever 21 or something like that, and the quality is always so much better. Do you have a particular order of sections you like to hit when you go thrifting? And I don't have a particular order, but I always hit the dresses and the shoes, blazers and sweaters if it's that time of year. If it's summer, they don't have them out. And coats. Oh my gosh, I love vintage coats too. And now I haven't gone as much in the past to the home decor section, but now I'm kind of beginning to hit that more. I don't typically look at jeans. I have enough jeans. I don't want to waste time unless something catches my eye. Like if I see a Levi's tag sticking out, I'll look. So yeah, all of those sections in no particular order, but those are the ones that I typically hit. I forget if I said shoes, but definitely shoes. Do you like to thrift with friends or go solo? So typically I like to go by myself because, like I said before, I can spend such a long time in the thrift shop. It's not even funny, and I don't want to like waste my friends' time, and I don't want them to feel like I'm dragging them everywhere. But I really like thrifting with my boyfriend if we're just looking at books. And I mean, I certainly have, like, we go with the intention of looking at books and something catches my eye and I thrift for like an hour and he just like goes and sits in the car. He's really patient with me. And I love thrifting with friends, like my cousin Sarah and I love to go thrifting together, and we kind of like commiserate and we talk about which pieces I like. And I've thrifted with my friend Isabel before and my best friend Victoria. Like, we've all thrifted together and that's always so much fun. But if I'm like really in the mood to like go deep into the thrifting and look at all the sections I want to and take as much time as humanly possible, I'm just gonna go by myself because I don't want to feel like I'm dragging anybody or wasting anybody's time. Do you like to thrift when you go on vacation? And yes, I do. I've never planned like a thrifting trip, like a vacation solely focusing on thrifting, although I would love to in the future, like do a cross-country trip and thrift along the way. That would be a dream. I've always wanted to do that. But I love, like, when I'm at the beach, I typically like to hit certain thrift shops where my family always goes. And last May in 2019, I went to England and I thrifted there, and I got this beautiful blue summer dress when I was in Bath. And whenever I wear that dress, I think about that trip. Current favorite vintage or thrifted pieces. One specific thing comes to mind. I've thrifted a bunch of really cool stuff recently, like this beautiful yellow prairie dress that I love. But I've recently thrifted a gorgeous blue cardigan with, I think it's Vintage Express, and I got it for like $15 at the thrift store that I like in my old college town. But it has sunflowers on it, and it's so cute because sunflowers are like among my favorite kinds of flowers. And it's going to be so beautiful for fall and for winter, and I can't wait to style it. It's going to be so cozy. So that's my most favorite recent thrift purchase. What's your most memorable thrift find? And at the top of my head, I'm still thinking about that blue dress I got in England when I went there in 2019. And I still wear that dress and it fits so nicely. And it's just so beautiful. Whose style inspires you? And I have a bunch that I can think of off the top of my head. That curly top, tailor-made style, Alyssa Coscarelli, Miss Honey Lavender. They're all so fun and they have such cool, unique styles. And I always love looking at their posts whenever I need inspiration, or if they just always post the coolest content in like IGTV videos. And that curly top started posting YouTube videos a couple months ago, and whenever I get a notification she puts a video out, I like smash the button and I always stop what I'm doing and I watch her videos, and they're so fun because she's really into like sustainable fashion, not just thrifting. Best tips for a first-time thrifter. I would just say, the first time you go thrifting, don't get overwhelmed. Don't put an expectation on yourself to stuff as humanly possible. Don't go in with the expectation of a huge haul. I would say take a friend who is either really experienced in thrifting or knows that location really well, or hopefully both. So not only can they help you, but they know the best parts of the store where you're going for your first time thrifting. So, and it's always fun to go thrifting with a friend. Favorite places to thrift. I love finding like church thrift shops or like family-owned thrift shops that are a little bit more like funky or have a different feel than just your traditional Goodwill. And I mean, you need to be conscientious, but I love going to my church's Goodwill back in my hometown where I used to live with my parents. A lot of people know about it. But it's like where all the like little old grandmothers from the church donate their clothing, so it has a lot of really cool, funky pieces for not like an awful lot of money. So, like, of course, like I said, be conscientious, leave, if you're not plus size, leave the plus size pieces, leave the children's pieces, so if people who need it can, you know, actually get it. But still, it's a lot of fun and I really enjoy it. Do you have a thrifty style secret to share? So I would say my thrifty style secret would definitely be just have fun. Don't try to impress people with what you wear. And I think if you just experiment as much as possible and you're comfortable and you're having fun with it and you're just wearing stuff and thrifting things that'll make you feel really confident, just have fun with it. That's what I would say. And that was my last question. So, thank you guys for watching. My camera battery is dying, so I need to do this really quickly. But if you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell so you get notifications when I post. And follow me on Instagram and come talk to me. I love like DMing everybody and chatting in the comments. So yeah, I'm going to put everything in the description below. I hope you guys have a great day.